Hi, this is part 3 on our series about expectations. I'm Rochelle Fry, licensed professional counselor, and we are talking about expectations. And today we're talking about expectations related to relationships, interpersonal relationships. What is realistic and what is unrealistic? So, this is a big topic in counseling. No matter what you're coming to counseling for, this is something that's eventually going to come up. So I'm going to go over unrealistic versus realistic thinking when it comes to relationships. This is relationships with anybody. Okay, so number one, people should know what I need without me having to say it. This is usually subconscious, usually not operating on a conscious level, but there are people who just walk around and just expect people to be able to read their mind. And there are some people who do it sometimes, and there are people who do it all the time. This is not fair to another person if you're doing this in relationships because nobody can read your mind. So if you want to look at more adaptive way of thinking, people will not always know what I need unless I tell them. We should never operate under assumptions. We should go into conversations listening as though we don't know what the person thinks or feels or what they're going to say. That is the adaptive way to communicate. Number two, unrealistic expectation. They should react the way I would in every situation. This is more common than you would think. I run into this a lot. People who think this, have this as a subconscious mindset, tend to walk around confused. They tend to walk around in confusion because they don't understand other people's behavior. Sometimes this can indicate boundary problems. It can open up a whole other host of conversations. But in general, a more adaptive way to think is not everyone will think, feel, or react the way that I do in any given situation. And that's okay. That's okay for people to be different and think different than us. And also, I'm going to throw in people don't always have the same capacity we have to handle situations. Their capacity could be greater or lesser, and that's also okay. What's not okay is placing the expectation on them that they should always react and respond the way that we do. Number three, unrealistic expectation. My partner, family, and friends will fulfill all my emotional needs. I find this more prevalent among partner relationships or marriages, but it does happen in other relationships too. And it is unfair to expect anybody to meet all of your needs. What is a more adaptive mindset? No one can meet all of your needs. We're going to look at, in counseling, expanding your support system and trying to find ways to meet those needs in multiple relationships or, through counseling, through group therapy. There's a lot of ways, a lot of ways to meet your needs through other means of support, but definitely should not all be coming from one person, especially if that person is a partner or a spouse, because that can be extremely exhausting to have someone placing that expectation on us. Number four, unrealistic expectations. People should never be in a bad mood or need space from me. This is patently false. Everybody needs a break. Everybody needs time to detox, especially if you have a stimulating job, you're coming home, if you have kids. A lot of times that can be overwhelming. So a more adaptive way to think is that people have their own emotional needs and limitations. So we need to sometimes recognize when people are overwhelmed and give them the space that they need to function. Number five, unrealistic expectation. People should change because I explain how they're hurting me. There's a host of different reasons why people don't change. When we have a conversation with them and we think everything's resolved, we're good, this isn't going to happen again. that's what we would like to happen, but in reality, that's not what always happens. And a lot of times it doesn't happen. So our job is to manage ourselves and think about what kind of boundaries are we going to set in light of if someone decides that they're going to continue the behaviors that feel hurtful to us. So the more adaptive view is some relationships may not be safe or healthy to maintain, and people have the right to their own thoughts, feelings, and timelines, even if I don't agree with it. So if they're going to do behaviors that feel hurtful to you, then your next step should not be to try to control them. It should be to think about what kind of boundaries you need to set to keep yourself mentally healthy and protected.